Hey y'all, hey, hope all is well with you. I am Leslie of Leslie Creations coming to you from my workroom. Hooty hoo. I am here doing a drafting and cutting out of a new top that I did. I drafted this pattern of a top that I drew out really quick. I've seen a version of it before. It had the moon shaped keyhole opening, but it was fit to the body. Most of the ones I seen was more fit to the body. I being a pear shape, I needed a little bit more room and comfort for it to slide across my hips nicely. So I thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and create my own version. Plus, I wanted a more modest coverage with the top. So here you see me measuring my arms. I'm measuring my arm and actually doing a quick cap sleeve measurement. This is fairly easy to do. You need to make sure you know the circumference of your arm and the distance from the top of your shoulder to below your armhole. That gives you the depth that you need, and then you also need the measurement for your deltoid, the distance of your deltoid, and the length you want it to be from your shoulder point down to the length you want to have it. A cap one is usually about 5 to 6 inches long, adding about an inch for your hem, roughly. So I measured it out on here. Okay, I'm continually making markings. I will try to do a close-up of this, but you still may not see the markings. I forgot to use a marker versus a pen. Um, right now, I am actually measuring how long I want my sleeve to be, and that's the marking I put at the bottom from the top of my shoulder to the hem line. My apologies. It's going to take me a little longer than anticipated to talk about this because my grandbabies came in here all wanting a hug. But now I am doing a line completely across. I didn't do a rounded hem. I did a straight hem. Right now you can see that I am putting the arches or the curved for, what's that called? The top of the shoulder area or top of the arm area to go underneath the arm. So I am carving those out. There is a slight difference, usually depending on how your shoulder rolls, depending on where you put the center point of your sleeve. I tend to move it about a half an inch to about an inch forward, and then it causes it to sit right. But that's, it just depends. Try it out and see. I don't have a complete formula. I probably could read a book. Not reading one right now. Telling you what I did, and it worked for this particular pattern. Does not work all the time. So my drop on it was about 7 inches, and the circumference was about 18 inches around my arm, and that's what I'm double checking and measuring right there. Right here I am measuring across the distance of my deltoid, and that's just double checking and measuring and making sure I allow myself some ease within that area. After doing all that, I think the reason why I was redoing it is because I realized my numbers weren't big enough, or the measurement wasn't big enough in order to get the right shape and the right distance around on my sleeve, especially towards the back for some reason. Anyway, so that's what I'm finishing out now. Now, know that this is a process. It's not really hard to do. Yes, it's good to know formulas and the best way to do it. I think I read a book probably 15 years ago on how to do this, and I haven't picked up the book since. And I pretty much do it by sight as well. So it's not always complete measurement. So if it doesn't look right to me, I will make adjustments. Double checking the circumference to go around my arm. If it's not enough, I will add an inch or so on the ends, I believe. And remember, once you have completed your patterns, whatever patterns you have completed, that you need to add your seam allowance. Most home sewers use a 1/2 inch seam allowance for most projects. If you're one who is a little skittish and worry about not having enough room to play with, then I would suggest to do 5/8, which is the normal distance for most patterns. Commercial. I did end up deciding to curve my hemline by raising it roughly about an inch from the center, 1/2 inch to an inch in the center. Can't tell you the exact measurement, but I ended up curving from the outside seam to the middle point of the shirt or sleeve to get that little bit of curvature. Now understand, because your arm is round, just because I did this lift up in the sleeve does not mean the sleeve is going to lift up. It actually is going to make it much more of a straight across hem, because you won't even notice that change. If I did it extremely more than 1/2 inch to an inch, then you will see it. Here I decided to use a rotary cutter to cut it out, but I guess I got distracted for some reason. Who knows? All right, so moving right along on to the next. By this point, I had already drafted both the front piece, which was 2 pieces, and the back piece, as well as front piece, the back piece. All those were already drafted and ready to be laid out on this fabric. This fabric was a polyester knit. Almost kind of feels like jersey, but it has a little bit more of a scratchy kind of, I wouldn't say actually scratchy, but it's not necessarily a much more smoother feel like you would get with a jersey knit. But this was a polyester knit that I had purchased probably at Walmart, one of those 2-yard value cuts. I wanted another animal print. That's what I had. I pulled it out. I will admit that because I do like this top, I really like the way it fits. I will be making this top again. So I didn't want to do a lot of waste with this. So I tried to find the best places to cut the pattern so I didn't waste a lot. This is the front piece of the top, and the only reason why I know that is because it goes straight across. I believe that's the front. Nope, it's the back. It's the back piece, because I can see the neck hole, or the shape of the neck hole. As you can tell, it's a little bit more of an extreme hemline. I, of course, had it a little bit more tapered, and I wanted to actually span out to allow for comfort in my hip area. One thing I do want to let you know, make sure when you are planning to lay out your pattern, if you're creating your own patterns, make sure you know the direction that best works for the particular style that you're doing. Um, I wanted the stretch to go horizontal and not vertical. Horizontal to allow for a little bit more ease fit around my bust area, but yet have a little bit looseness going across my hips. By doing so, I have more horizontal stretch, and that means I can easily like stretch when I put it on, because this was not a four-way stretch material. It was a one directional stretch. Also too, I wanted to scoot it over just far enough so that I didn't waste a lot of fabric in doing so. I was trying to utilize as much of this fabric up as possible. I just went on and I chose to pin the pattern instead of just using my weights on this magnetic table, because I wanted a little bit more control, as well as the fact that I was going to be shifting this fabric so that I used as much of it as possible without a lot of waste. So I found a great spot to be able to do the yoke of the top and cut it out. The last thing I will have to cut out on here is my sleeve. Remember, as you do any project, know which way your stretch is. Double check it, triple check it, because you want to have the stretch in the direction that most benefits the pattern, or if the pattern you're using has your grain lines in it. This one did not, of course, because I drafted it. As I was working, I looked at the portion that would go across my deltoid. I pinned it and realized that I didn't allow myself as much room as I thought. So I get it all pinned and realize, oh no, it's not enough. So I take all the pins out and slice the pattern. I'm not worried about even if it's too big for me, because even if the sleeve is a little too big, it will still be okay. Better the bigger than too small. So I shifted over maybe between a half, it looks like about an inch over, so that I can go ahead and get it done and not have a lot of waste. I did not incorporate my half an inch, so I did it as I cut it out, which is fine. If you do not add your seam allowance in your pattern piece, make sure you make note of it on your pattern piece. That way, when you recut this out, you are not in a situation of not having enough. So the last piece I did actually cut out was the band that would go around my neckline, as well as around the bottom of the sleeve. I chose to do that because doing a band on the bottom, I don't have to struggle to figure out how to finish the edge off, and it gives a much cleaner look to my top. So just doing about a 2-inch width gives me what I need to go around my neck as well as armband, because it gives a much better finish using a band. So I finished this up. I apologize. I do not have a video of me sewing this project, but I will link the video showing off the completed project. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed my content. Make sure, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you all the next time. Deuces.